What I wanted to talk to you about is a new funding stream that's coming online very shortly. It's actually been in the planning for about a year. I think it's been about a year we've been talking about it. So I would have liked to have, I'd like to have been a bit further on by now, but I think that's kind of inevitable, really, given the nature of the programme. So it's we're working with the combined authority to deliver a funding stream that's going to be over 2 years. It's going to be this year, 24, and then also 25, looking at learning and skills in particular. So we're the lead organisation, and we're working really closely with CCVS and with Hunts Forum and with PCVS to deliver this. So it is a combined effort. So you can also feel free to go to them with questions, and if you need support as well. We're all kind of working on this together, but we are kind of running the grant programme, if you like. So the total amount of funding we've got at the moment is £340,000 per year. And we are on a very tight turnaround for this first year. So what we're looking to do is to fund pilot schemes. The aims of the grants will be to enrich the lifelong learning and skills for adults who are aged 19 plus and residents of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, to increase and broaden participation of residents in adult learning and skills development, and particularly to reduce inequalities in access to adult education. So that's kind of broadly what it is. And like I say, we're looking to fund pilot schemes in this first year that we will then be able to fund in the second year. So it is quite a short turnaround time. We're looking for projects of about a 6-month duration. And we will be opening very shortly. So the website and the web page with more details that we're just finalising now will be launching on Monday. So I'll be able to direct you to that. It is quite broad and open because what we're really hoping for is ideas from the sector. So we're not being overly prescriptive about what that should look like. This is a very deliberate programme aimed at working with our sector. So it's going to be quite a learning curve on both sides, which is why we've got the pilot kind of period to start with. And then with the learnings from that, we'll design what the second year is going to look like. So the outcomes that we're really looking to achieve are improved engagement in learning and building confidence, improved health and well-being, improved community connection, civic engagement and volunteering, building capacity and capability within our sector to deliver adult learning and skills, achievement of formal qualifications and progression to higher levels of learning or in-work progression, achievement of essential skills and first step qualifications where that's appropriate. So that's kind of the broad outline, but we are keeping it really quite open. So we will, happily, field any questions, but it's going to be quite a short application window. So normally we work on a 3-month application window. This is going to be a month. So we'll be launching on Monday, and the closing date will, I've forgotten the date now. I think it's 1st of March. Sorry, 1st of March will be closing. So we've got that amount of time to get the applications in. It's quite a simple application form. We're not overly asking for too much in the application form because we're aware of the speed we need to turn this around at. And also, being quite honest, we don't know what we're going to get yet, so we can't really make that too complicated. There will obviously be an element of impact monitoring and measuring because we need that to be able to inform the second year. But we are just working on what that will look like at the moment. So that will be on the website as soon as we've got it. But we're really trying to keep it proportionate and not too onerous because we understand, obviously, the situation we're in. So we'll hopefully be looking for things like number of residents participating in informal learning, number of local homegrown third sector organisations delivering learning, number of residents participating in essential skills as kind of the basics. But then we'll have some more that we're going to just include so that we can help design the next bit of the programme. So that's about as much as I know at the moment, and I'm really hoping that our friends at CCVS and Hunts Forum and PCVS are going to be able to help getting groups kind of ready and getting the word out there for this kind of first period.
I think employment and health, it's had a history in this area. I think that it's, for me, if you look at what really underpins it all, and I hope there's employment, being employed is very life affirming. It's being on the outside can, I think, can be a challenge, and of course the workplace environment is, again, my public health hat on especially, is a very is an environment that can influence health. So I think that's a sort of underlying thinking of the work that we've been doing. There's obviously, many of you have been very much involved in this, or all of you, I think, have been involved in this agenda in terms of the journey into work for people, and also being able to stay in work as well. And there have been various programs, interventions, services over the years. But about this more recent work that we've been working on with different partners around the system, originated basically from the end of COVID, when the joint Department of Work and Pensions and Department of Health and Social Security Health and Work Unit at the Office of Health Improvement and Disparities was asked us, or approached me, if well, how about Cambridge and Peterborough being a pilot site for developing a strategy? So sent away first time because it was COVID. When they came back the second time, talked to different partners, the ICB, the districts, and we did mention it to the voluntary sector, but somehow it got lost in the time. But that work, a group started and we put together a strategy, and that went on and was used nationally as a template and so forth. But in fact, I think that's probably been, that was a sort of catalyst. But in fact, what it's led to is a whole wider partnership, and the opportunity to develop some pieces of work. Things progressed. I think probably you're aware of the Joint Health and Wellbeing and Integrated Care System Board and the strategy, and it's become incorporated as one of its core priorities. And I think there are two arms to the strategy. One is this about getting people back into work, and making that journey back into work as comprehensive and as supportive as possible, and then the actual workplace environment in itself. And I think the complexity and the challenges that many people have about getting back into work does require those I don't know, I call it as a kind of a triangle. I think in one area there's health and social care, then we have all the employment support services, and then we have education and skills. And behind those three areas, there's a whole myriad of organisations across the system that play into the agenda. And over the course of the past 2.5 years, the group has widened, and we've developed we have a plan. Like, that's all, if in doubt, you always have a plan, don't you? And some specific deliverables around that plan. And they focus on three areas, very much around this, getting the system, getting a vision around the integrated approach. Secondly, it's about support to employers. And thirdly, it's about more operationalising it. So we have, and Liz Davies and Susanna very much involved in this, 2 pilot sites. One in in City and reaching into South, and one in Fenland. And these are hubs, essentially. And as they've just taken off, but what they're doing and what we're doing is broadening the membership of these hubs and have an integrated approach to help supporting people back into work. So we have DWP, we have health and social care, we want all the employment support services, which includes many people here. And it's very much in their early stages, but there's certainly we found some funding to do the pilots. So there's a project group behind it. So there's a real opportunity to pilot this approach. And I think I was really interested when in one of the subgroups, I think it was somebody said about it was really good to see someone's face. And we'd want this to be a mixture of not just a virtual support, but also to have some face-to-face time in there as well. But of course, alongside this, WorkWell came along. And I think probably WorkWell is part of this journey that the centre's been having about with this huge focus on, I would say, in a economically inactive. And there's a driver, I think, really brought into focus by COVID, where we had a lot of people disappear from the employment market for various reasons. We now have an ongoing impact of long COVID. So we have a workforce shrinkage. So the drive coming from these additional opportunities, whether it be the creation of a strategy, whether it being this bid WorkWell, which I'll talk a bit more about in a moment, which many of you will have heard it, because I know that there was extensive consultation as part of the first stage of the bid. But certainly there's a very strong driver. And what I'm hearing from my links with OHID or different organisations is that this drive and this focus on the working age population is not going to go away, and it's going to be linked to other things as they emerge. And I think the other thing about it is that it very much is bringing the importance of the health barriers about getting people back into work. So consequently, the leads for the WorkWell bid is the integrated care boards, but they have to work in partnership with local authorities and with DWP and with employment organisations like yourselves. Or employment support organisations. So there is an onus on ICBs to lead, but an onus on them that this really has to be a system-wide integrated approach. So, and that's what the WorkWell bid is all about. It basically came out as usual just before Christmas. The expression of interest had to be prepared by mid-January. And there was a lot of frenetic work around the system, and I think people from the ICP I think they had various meetings with some of the people on this group on this call, and the outcome of that was a bid, an expression of interest to hopefully will meet the requirements of the WorkWell bid, which is very much about piloting a model which will bring together a range of different services which will support getting people back into work and to stay in work as well. And this, I think the thinking was the pilot sites would really give an opportunity to build. It really is about a real opportunity for the system to really work together and bring its existing resources and the additional resources that the bid will bring if we're successful to support this journey into work. And I think I was saying that we were building on the pilots, but acknowledging that this will be a system-wide bid. So there's a real opportunity to expand. But I'll hand over to Nikki. I couldn't show my slides because it wouldn't work on the Zoom, which had all this beautifully worded out. But I'll leave you to talk about the WorkWell bid because the ICB submitted it.
I'm Nikki Ward. I'm Director of Strategy and Development at the ICB, and I won't repeat much of what Val said. I think we're probably teaching you from what Mark said about the group and to suck eggs in many respects in terms
Absolutely.
of the work and health agenda. And having chatted to Fiona and Liz as part of developing the bid, it was really, really useful to understand the amount of work that is clearly already going on, out there. I guess I think the thing to acknowledge, because you might be thinking to yourself, well, why the ICB, you know, when there's lots of partners who are in this space already and supporting people. So when the ICBs were stood up, again, 4 key aims of setting up integrated care boards, and one of those was around the impact, we're having a positive impact on the socioeconomic environment that we serve as well. And I think there was a feeling nationally, no surprises really, there was a feeling nationally that ICBs perhaps weren't focusing on that as much as they could be. So I think there was a bit of a discussion nationally about where the WorkWell bid funding would be routed through, and that was why it was decided that it was routed through ICBs. So we know that in the WorkWell bid, out of the 42 ICSs nationally, that around 15 of them are going to be appointed as these vanguard sites for WorkWell. We don't actually know how we're going to be viewed in terms of our bid, because of we're seen as a bit of a forerunner, in the sense that we were given the money to develop the strategy from DWP some time ago. And we've continued that work even when the fundings ran out, as Val said. So we're not quite sure how it will be viewed. We're hopeful that they'll look at it positively, because we're an area where we are looking to we're a point of delivery, and therefore could go further faster perhaps than many systems who are at the stage of starting to develop this strategy with this, and right at the very beginning of looking at this from an ICB perspective, should I say.
I did learn this morning, Nikki, that there are 35 expressions of interest.
35, yeah.
Out of how many ICBs is it?
42, yeah. So they were expecting a really they were expecting a lot of interest, because obviously it gives quite a good opportunity to develop and expand this area. And thank you, Mark, for the explanation of the ICB and ICS. It's like, how many acronyms can I use? It's always a challenge for an NHS person to stop doing that. So yeah, apologies. I should have started. I feel like I need a crib sheet to start with an explanation of the acronyms that I'm going to use. So yeah, the integrated care boards, as you say, Mark, now in charge of health funding and that NHS. But I guess the interesting thing about it is that in delivery of that, I guess, what you'd see is that traditional healthcare and funding of healthcare, we're being encouraged to do that in a much more integrated way in terms of how we deliver it, and also in a much more preventative way, and hence work and health agenda and the WorkWell bid as well. So yeah, we submitted the bid, and I must say a big thank you to all partners. I mean, talk about everyone step up to a ridiculous timescale to respond to quite a big ask in the bid. And I think it's fair to say we're really proud to be able to submit 14 letters of support from across the system, which is really, I think, representative of the amount of support that we've had for this work to date. And we look forward to, through this group and others, having an opportunity to take that forward. I think the main thing we heard in developing the bid, and then I'll stop there, is around the importance, and again, in the work that you already do around connecting people, not trying to create something brand new, acknowledging what exists already, but also acknowledging where the gaps in provision are, and had some really interesting conversations with the VCSE colleagues about what those gaps might look like as well. And so I think there's good opportunity there for us to target, if we're successful in that funding, in some of those areas where we know people are have a lot of potential to be supported, but perhaps aren't at the moment. So yeah, thank you very much for the support that we got for the bid.